Hello and welcome back to the Valley Oak Paper YouTube channel. I'm Cecilia, and the product suite I'm using today is from Pinkfresh Studio and it's called Poinsettia. I'm going to use the stamps, the washi tape and the dies. This particular product is retired, but all Pinkfresh washi tapes are the same size, so you can use any washi for this card. I'll link to them in the description box below. The theme of my monthly video hub for November 25 is Out of My Comfort Zone. For that, I've chosen to create a fun fold. I don't know what it is about them, but I have a problem with fun folds. This is a prototype I created based on a recent video by Jennifer McGuire. I will link her video in the description below. As I said, fun folds are my Achilles heel, and this prototype is not right. But don't worry, I'll put the right measurements in the video and in my blog post on valleyoakpaper.com. I'm going to use craft cardstock for the base. This piece is 5.5 inch tall and 10.25 inch wide. The final card is going to be A2, so 4.25 by 5.5. I'm going to use the big stamp with all the florals as a background stamp and create my own pattern paper. Here's another piece of craft that I used to create swatches. The bottom swatch is Ranger Superfine Detail in Gold. I tried a bunch of other colors, but I think the gold is the best match and it contrasts less with the craft. That's good for the background because I don't want it to get too busy. I'm starting with a big stamp diagonally in my MISTI. I'm using anti-static powder tool, and then I'm inking up the stamp with Versamark. You really have to press down hard on these large stamps to get all the detail, just like a background stamp. Then I'm pouring Ranger Superfine Detail in Gold over the stamped images. And then I heat up the embossing powder with my Wagner heat tool until it melts. To make it easier to fill up the whole cardstock piece, I'm moving the stamp to the outside of the lid of my MISTI. I put the mouse pad under the cardstock piece and stamp with Versamark. Then I pour embossing powder over the stamped images and melt it. I continue filling out the whole piece of craft. And this is what it looks like in the end. So pretty. This is after I had scored the pretty craft cardstock and discovered that my prototype was off by 1/2 inch. Here's a new prototype that actually produces an A2 card. Off camera, I heat embossed a new piece of craft with the right dimensions. And here I'm scoring at 3 inch from the left side. Then I bring out the prototype and I almost go with the wrong measurements, but I catch it in time. So I score 4.25 from the right side. That's easy because it's the short end on A2 card, so I've marked it with a black Sharpie on my scoreboard. Then I fold the first fold as a mountain fold and the second one as a valley to give me a Z fold. Then I check one more time that the card really is 4.25 wide. Fun folds, yay! Turning to the washi, I'm going to need 2 pattern repeats from it. One is going to be the small Z fold. The other one I'm going to die cut to decorate the card. It's pretty easy to use the washi. You just unroll it and smooth it down on your cardstock. I use a box cutter to cut it off from the roll. Then I use my bone fold to smooth down the edges. I'm cutting apart the 2 pattern repeats. This is going to be the small Z fold. Then I mark the edges with a pencil. The tape is 4 inches across and I need 3.5 inches. So I need to remove about 1/4 inch from each long side. The length is about 8.5, so I don't need to cut off much from the short sides. This Fiskars trimmer is good because the wire shows exactly where the cut will be. First, I'm just trimming the cardstock to the width and length of the washi. Then I cut a bit more on the long sides. I'm left with a piece that's 8.5 by 3.5 inches, just like my prototype. And now I'm scoring it at 2 3/4 inches from each side. Turning to the other washi pattern repeat, I'm going to die cut it. It's one big die, so it's pretty easy. I'm using my extended Anna Griffin plates, but you can fit the die diagonally on a regular size plate too. Here are the die cuts. This washi is so pretty. I'm going to cut this die with accent opaque too. Here I've sorted the die cuts and I'm stacking accent opaque behind the pretty washi. For the sentiment, I'm going to use this board Joy. I picked it up when Creative Escape had their final in-person sale. I'm going to miss having a papercraft store within driving distance. This is polished brass glimmer hot foil. I have several gold glimmer rolls, and this is the one that I felt looked the best with the gold in the washi and the heat embossing. I'm taping it to a piece of hammer mill cardstock. My glimmer machine is ready, so I can put the Joy plate on the silicone and press the timer button. The light is steady green, so I'm taking the glimmer to my Platinum 6 and running it through. I'm back and I'm immediately docking the glimmer surface to the machine and putting my solid hot foil plate on it so I can foil the negative. Then I remove the tape and we get that magical reveal. This is the moment that keeps me returning to glimmer time and time again. It's just gorgeous. I'm going to cut out the letters with the coordinating die. Wow, that turned out perfect. The O resisted a bit, but I got it out in the end. One last piece of stamping before we can start assembling the card. This piece of hammer mill is 4 by 5 1/4 inches. It's going to go on the back of the card for a personal message. I'm using anti-static powder first, so I won't forget. Then I take care to place the sentiment reasonably straight and centered. I pick up the stamp with the lid of my MISTI. I ink it up with Versamark and stamp it down. Pour gold heat embossing powder over the impression, and while my heat tool warms up, I remove stray embossing powder with a brush and a pokey tool. Then I heat up the powder with my heat gun. Now we have all the parts and I can start putting together the card. I'm starting by applying the panel for the personal message on the back because that's going to be hard to do later. I used the negative foiled image for the Joy, but I prefer the positive. So I'm going to use the negative and some white cardstock to stack behind the positive letters. Here I'm starting to glue together the fun folds. I'm starting with the back and aligning the right fold with the end of the back panel. Then we glue together the two front panels. I put glue along the right edge of the large front fold and along the left edge of the smaller fold. Then I fold them down and put magnets on them while the glue dries. This is the result, two Z folds that move together. Now I can decorate the front of the card. For that I want to use the big wreath die and the sentiment. I'm putting foam tape behind the wreath. Then I'm gluing it down near the top center of the card. Next I glue the J to the left side of the wreath and the Y to the right side. Then I use my T ruler to make sure the J and Y are lined up. That's the advantage with gluing to washi tape. You get a lot of wiggle room. I'm adding foam tape to the back of the O, and then I use my T ruler again to line it up with the J and Y. I'm also adding a little sprig of greenery coming out of the center. I want it to look like the Joy just can't be contained. It's even exploding out of the letters themselves. Then I add a tiny bit of foam tape to hold the greenery in place on top of the O. With the sentiment in place, I can decorate the inside of the card. I'm adding floral clusters that stick up or down from the small panel, but they can't go over the folds. If you're adding clusters to the middle panel, they have to be glued only to that panel. If you glue it to the background, your card won't close anymore. This is what the card looks like now. I had one floral arrangement left over, so I stuck it to the back on the panel for a postal message. Off camera, I went to town with various Pinkfresh enamel dots from my stash, mostly pink and green to go with the poinsettia florals. So this is the final card. I'm loving how the gold catches the light and all the muted pinks and greens. This is such a pretty collection. Don't forget to check out the other Video Hop participants. They're all getting out of their comfort zones, so it's promising to be a diverse set of videos. They're all linked in my description box below. That's also where you'll find links to the products I used and to my blog post with detailed instructions and more images. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon.